व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text number 13. Tat sarvam naha samachakshva tat sarvam naha samachakshva prasaha yat iha kinchana prusto yat iha kinchana manye tvam vishaye vacham manye tvam vishaye vacham स्नातम अन्यत्र चांदसात् स्नातम अन्यत्र चांदसात् तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्वा पृष्टो यद् इह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचं स्नातम अन्यत्र चांदसात् तत्सर्वं न समाचक्ष्वा पृष्टो यद् इह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातम अन्यत्र चांदसात्.
Hare Krishna Golden Temple వారి మరో
tat that sarvam all naha unto us samachakshva clearly explain pristaha question yat iha herein kinchana all that manye we think tvam you vishaye in all subjects vacham meanings of words Snatam, fully acquainted. Anyatra, except Chandasat, portions of the Vedas. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portion of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Please repeat the translation. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The difference between Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and Parivrajakacharyas. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. But the Parivrajakacharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajakacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet, it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihasa. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that the Vedic mantras are mostly begun with Pranava Omkara, and it requires some training to practice some metric pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean the Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is a ripened fruit of all Vedas, as stated before. Besides that, the most perfect liberated soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. Srila Sutta Goswami is following his footsteps, and therefore his position is not the least less important, because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciations, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Doesn't see Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimira Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here the sages of Naimisharanya, they are expressing their acknowledgement of the qualities of speaker Sutta Goswami on strength of his realization. So they are saying, Manye, we know about you. Snatam, that you are very expert personality. Tvam Vishaye Vacham, in the meaning of all the subjects. Anyatra Chandasat, except some portions of the Vedas. Samachekshva, and you can clearly explain to us. Tat Sarvam Naha Pristaha, Yad Iha Kinchana, whatever we have acquired from you in the last few questions, whatever we have inquired, you can explain to us in detail, because you are qualified enough to answer us. In what way you are qualified? Because you have realized the subject. So in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining the differences between Parivrajkacharyas and Brahmanas. One is focused on chanting the mantras in meter and accent, pronunciation. The other is engaged in preaching the subject. The purpose is to reach the Lord, either way. So there is no difference that one is superior or one is inferior. And in the last statement also Prabhupada says, realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. So theory is one aspect, practice is another aspect. The realization comes by practice. So what is that specific realization of Sutta Goswami, and what are his qualifications for the sages of Naimisharanya to hear from him? So these are been expressed already in the few chapters back and a few chapters further. So how Bhagavatam projects the position of Sutta Goswami. In the last chapter 1.3.44, the last shloka he explains, Tatra kirtayato vipra rusher bhuri tejasaha aham chadyagamam tatra nivishtastat anugrahat soham va shravayishyami yataditam yatamatihi. So he says, O Vipraha, O my dear learned Brahmanas, kirtayataha, when Shukadeva Goswami spoke this Bhagavatam, tatra, at that time I was present there. Nivishtaha, I was present there, I heard with rapt attention. And tad anugrahat, by his mercy, adyagamam, I understood Srimad Bhagavatam. I learnt Srimad Bhagavatam. From Bhuri Tejasaha, from the great and powerful sage, Vipra Rishehi, Shukadeva Goswami, I heard from him, I learned from him, I understood that Bhagavatam because I was present personally there when the Bhagavatam was recited. So aham, right now, today, Shravayishyami vaha, I will speak to the same subject what I have understood. Yata aditam yata matihi, as I had learnt it from him and as I have realized it. He is saying, not just theoretical explanation, what is my understanding and what is my realization of that subject, I am going to present to that same perspective. So generally what happens when we try to communicate the knowledge, the essence might be missing somewhere, or the bits and pieces might be missing. In social media, there is one small video which once in a while it goes on viral. There are 5 people, and each one is having a paper on the forward person, back side. Somebody is having a paper and they are writing on the pen. How many have seen this small video? Understood what means? This is a person, on his back I have put a paper and I started writing. And he has to guess what I am writing onto the opposite person to his back. So it started with, I love Krishna. Something else to the first person, it came like some donkey shape or something he came to realize. Because what happens, the knowledge what is passed is not intact. That's why when Krishna was speaking Bhagavad Gita, he said, Sakalaneha mahata yogo nasta parantapa. Over a period of time, the knowledge appears to be lost. Or it is not present at all. It is present, but it is not the actual intention what Lord Krishna had communicated. People would have added more and more information to it. Speculation they would have added. So when the original conclusions were lost, Lord had to re-establish the principles of religion as Bhagavad Gita. So here, Shukadeva Goswami, when he was explaining, Suta Goswami is saying, I understood and I am presenting as my realization is. I am not speculating on the subject. So that is his qualification. And further in one more place, in the 18th chapter, there are series of 4 or 5 shlokas. Again, the systematic questions were put. And again, Suta Goswami answers by that, he saying, Aham hi prishto aryamano bhavadbir achaksha atma avagamo atra yavan nabah patanti atma sabam patitrinaha tatasamam vishnu gatim vipashitaha. So what is his realization? He explains in this verse. He says, Aryamanaha, O best of the sages who have assembled here, he says, Aham hi achakshva bhavadbir. I will try to explain to whatever you have inquired from me. About what? Atma avagamaha, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord which are meant for self-realization. Atma avagamaha, to understand about the self. Which is the topic? That is about the Lord. If you understand about the Lord, you will understand about yourself. Atma avagamaha. And how will he explain? What is his capacity? Patatrinaha patanti. Patatrinaha means birds. How do birds fly? Nabah yavan atma samam. According to their capacity, they fly. Some birds, they fly in the lower level. Hawk, vultures, they fly at very high level. So, according to his capacity, he flies in different atmospheric levels. So, he is saying, according to my realization, like birds, how much they can fly, I will explain according to my relation. He is relating with an example. So, tata samam vipaschitaha. So, the learned devotees, Pristaha atra Vishnu gatim, they describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. So how devotees can explain? What they will explain? Why devotees give different, the same verse, why different devotees give different ways of presentation? It is according to their realization, that much only they can present. The more you are realized, the more you may explain in a better context. So, in that purport, Prabhupada says, everyone is limited by knowledge. Because not everybody is as perfect as the Lord. The Lord is only the one person who is with complete knowledge. Only he can explain about himself. But pure devotees are able to present that subject according to the capacity Lord had given them that much, or according to their realization. Maximum they will try to present. But still, because Lord is unlimited, we cannot present the unlimited. So, in that purport, Prabhupada says, factually, only Lord himself can describe himself. And his learned devotees also can describe him as far as the Lord gives him the power of description. So, to describe about the Lord also, one should be empowered by the Lord. There is one sloka in Chaitanya Charitamrita which says, to do prachara, Lord has to empower him. No. The context is, unless he is empowered by the Lord, one cannot preach. Prabhupada, at many places he says this statement. So to preach also, you should be blessed by the Lord. Now in this context, we came across that one analogy as the birds fly in the sky. So which birds fly at what level is elaborated in Ramayana. So in that context, we will understand which birds fly at what level and what distances and what is their capacity. For us to know what is that analogy, how it represents to us in trying to make ourselves increase our knowledge about the Lord. This is between Sampati, he is brother of Jatayu. So when they had approached, the monkeys had approached Sampati because they had come, they wanted to know which is the place where Ravana had kidnapped. They didn't even know who had kidnapped. They are in search of Sita Devi. 4 groups were sent in 4 different directions. The Hanuman and party, Hanuman, Angada, Jambavan, they were in the south direction. When they were almost nearing the coast of southern tip, so they came across Sampati. He is the brother of Jatayu. He is a very experienced person, a great devotee of the Lord again. So when they met him, they started explaining about the circumstances, how Jatayu was died. Because Ravana was carrying away Sita Devi somewhere in the higher plane. So Jatayu was also flying in that level and he fought with Ravana. So with his capacity, he tried his full endeavor to stop Ravana, but he could not succeed. So he was attacked and he fell down and he waited till Lord Ramachandra had come. And he passed away in front of Lord Ramachandra. So Lord Ramachandra treated him like his father and he did the funeral ceremony for Jatayu. So in that one perspective, we can see he has materially as a failure. He could not do the job. But spiritually, he is successful. So always we should not count upon material results. So when this discussion is happening, then Sampati explains, Adaha pantya kulinda ghana echa dhyane jivani, which means sparrows and other seed-eater birds like pigeons fly in the first plane of sky. The basic level is sparrows and pigeons. Dvitiyo bali bhojanaha echa vriksha falara. The second plane of sky is the flying zone of fruit-eating birds and crows. Phala bhojana. Then Basaratu itiya guchitaha krauncharat kurosaha. In the third plane, they fly the birds like cranes and herons. Krauncha. Cranes. Kongalo. Then the falcons fly much higher in the 4th plane and the vulture goes into the 5th plane. Swans fly in the 6th plane of light. And finally, Garuda, which is the Vahana of Lord Vishnu, flies at the height much higher than any other birds. So then in this perspective, it is explained that Sampati and Jatayu were in the category of Garuda, that they are able to fly in the very highest level. And because of some karma, they had to take birth in this material world as Garuda and Jatayu and Sampati to execute in the mission of the Lord. Many demigods and many other people had come here to support in the mission of the Lord. So if you understand, this is a different level. How different birds fly at different level. Why there are no accidents in the sky? See, one aeroplane, sometimes we see aeroplanes crashing each other. On the road itself, how many vehicles crash every day? But there are, have you seen any time 2 birds crashing each other? Maybe very rare that perspective. So how it is able to done? Because different birds fly at different levels. So how they are able to fly? What is their capacity? Because their body is built like that. There are some birds who do not drink even water from the ground. They are called as Chataka birds. They drink water only when it rains. It may die out of hunger, but it will never touch water from the ground. It wants that pure water directly from the clouds. So, sometimes these examples are given for us to understand that devotees, when they are compared to that subject, they are expected of the highest capacity. When Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter, I am lion among animals. So, what do you understand by this? What is your realization? Okay, he is brave enough. Okay, next. Most powerful. He is like the king of the jungle. Everybody will be very fearful to go near him. The dominance, the position, the capacity. If a lion is there, everybody is very alert in the nearby area. So in that way, you can perceive, okay, by this material object, Krishna is trying to communicate because our understanding is only that level. Krishna is trying to explain his position in a level where we can understand about him. If he explains something about from the spiritual world, because we don't know head and tail of that spiritual world, you say all this is bogus. So he is explaining in a perspective which we know or which we can relate. So in that way, entire Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is trying to give us the practical things which we are aware of, which we can connect and which will be able to refer that in our day-to-day life. So generally, people also they compare. There are two people who are competing for elections. We know how election rallies will happen, how election speeches will happen. One is coming from a parampara system. His grandfather is the president. His father is president. Now he is also standing for president. And another person is a person who is worked hard to come to that level. The person who has come from the parampara system, he started explaining, my grandfather ruled like a lion. My father ruled like an elephant. And I will be ruling you like a tiger. The opposite person was saying, Arey Baba, we are saying the same thing. How long will you rule like as animals? We are human beings. We don't want this animal style of rule. So, see, we compare ourselves. I am like a tiger, I am like a, you are an animal, you are comparing. You are not comparing to a human being. So, this simple analysis people miss. So, we have to be, when you are presenting these subjects, we have to give appropriate example, or else it goes to a wrong direction. There was one child and mother. The mother wanted to teach the child the basic etiquette. She said, my dear child, every time you speak a lie, one of my hair becomes white, she said. Then the child understood. Okay, now I understood, Mama, why grandmother has so many white hair. So if you are giving a wrong example, what will they think? What will they understand? So your realization should be a perfect example. So that the opposite person has confidence in what he has heard and he has the determination to execute. Okay, you are saying something which you don't practice, then how the opposite person will be able to pick up and practice it? So that's why Suta Goswami, Shukadev Goswami, they are all giving their personal level of understanding so that the opposite person has confidence. Yes, this is a truth which is valid, which can be practiced and which is realistic. Or else everything will say, okay, we all know how we sit in our professor classes. It is a subject which comes from a book through the mouth of a professor, which will enter through one ear and which will exit to another ear. Or sometimes it even bypasses. Because materialistic knowledge has no practical realization. It is not taught in a way, it is basically current day education is spoon feeding. The independently capable person is not able to execute what he is supposed to do. So we are all like how you program computers, how you program languages. Our education is they are programming us what we should do. We are not independently proactive to do anything new or beyond the box. That's why people are not able to handle the subjects, handle their education, handle their life, handle the emergencies in their life. So Bhagavatam is giving that realistic knowledge. So further, they glorify further the discussion. They say, Rushaya Uchuhu, when they heard according to his realization, then the Rishis are saying, Suta Jiva Samah Saumya Shashvatir Vishadam Yashaha Yastvam Shamshashi Krishnasya Martyanam Amrutam Hinaha. So whatever you are speaking, they are saying Amrutam Hinaha. It is like nectar to us. O Saumya Sutta, O gentle Sutta Goswami, Jiva Samaha, may you live for long years. And Shashvatir Yashaha Vishadam, may you have eternal fame. Shashvati Yasha. Yastvam Samshashi Krishnasya, you are very nicely explaining to us about Lord Krishna's activities. Martyanam Amrutam Hinaha, for people who are destined to die, this is like nectar. Nectar means you will live for a long life. So by hearing Krishna, we will revive to our original position of eternal relationship. That's why it is a nectar. It will make us in a long life in association with the Lord. And further they say, Tanno Bhavan hai Bhagavat Pradanaha Mahatma Aikanta Parayanasya Harer Udaram Charitam Vishuddham Shushushatamno Vitanoto Vidvan. Tanno Bhavan Vidvan, you are a best scholar. Vidvan, you are a best scholar, learned person. And why Bhagavat Pradanaha? And you are a great devotee of the Lord. You are a scholar, learned person, and you are a great devotee. Bhagavat Pradanaha. And Mahatma Aikanta Parayanasya, and your only object of life is the Supreme Lord. Ekanta Parayanasya. So, Vitunotu Harer Udara Charitam, the magnanimous pastimes of the Lord, please explain to us. Which are Vishuddham, which are very pure. Because Na Shushushatam, we are very anxious to hear. So, somebody is explaining a story where you get some at peak time, they'll give interval. Or they'll say, we'll discuss tomorrow. So we'll be very curious. We want to know what next, what next, what next. So this Bhagavatam is like a suspense thriller which goes on, which hooks our mind and which we would hanker for it. We want to hear more and more, more and more. It is the same subject for every speaker is speaking. But still every speaker adds his own masala, his own flavor, so that it becomes a different taste out of it. So the qualifications of Suta Goswami as a speaker are, he is a learned and pure devotee with only object of worship as Krishna. And qualifications of the sages as audience are, they are anxious to hear, Shushushatam. And subject requested by the sages are pastimes of the Lord which are beyond material perceptions. So when qualified speaker is there, qualified audience are there, the subject what is discussed will be of highest category. Like similarly, when Rupa Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught him the essence of Vedic knowledge. What and all did Rupa Goswami was taught? In 2-3 verses, it explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Loka bida bhaye Prabhu dashashvameda yana Rupa Goswami shikshakara na shakti sancharya. So, fearing that many people are there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Rupa Goswami to Dashashvameda Ghata, and there he started explaining to him the essence of all Vedic knowledge. And Shakti Sancharya, the preaching capacity, the power to preach. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Pranta. He explained to him Krishna Tattva, the position of Lord Krishna, Bhakti Tattva, the position of devotional service, Rasa Tattva, the position of melos, Sabha Shikaila Prabhu, Bhagavata Siddhanta. Along with that, he had explained to him all the conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then, Ramananda Pasha Yada Siddhanta Shunila, whatever he had heard, the conclusions from Ramananda Raya, Rupa Krupakari Taha Sabha Shancharila. He explained everything to Rupa Goswami to show mercy on Rupa Goswami. Then Sri Rupa Hridaya Prabhu Shakti Sancharila. Then he entered into the heart of Rupa Goswami and he gave him the power to understand, to acknowledge and to explain. Sarva Tattva Nirupane Pravina Karila. He made him an expert person to preach all these tattvas. So that's why if we have to preach, Lord has to empower us. And Rupa Goswami entered into the, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered into the heart of Rupa Goswami so that he'll be able to present all the perspectives what he had heard from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in one more further place also it says, what is there in this difference between these Vedic literatures and Puranas, Agamas? This is the concept what we have come here. So it says, what is the conclusion? Vyamohaya characharasya jakataste puranaagamascha tam evahi devatam parimikam jalpantu kalpavadi siddhanter punareka eva bhagavan Vishnu samastagama vyapareshu vivechanena vyatikaram niteshu nischiyate. He says, Tete Purana Agamaha. There are various types of Puranas and Agamas and Vedic literatures. And Tam evahi devatam parimikam. In each Purana they said so and so demigod is supreme. Brahmanda Purana, Brahma Purana, Vishnu Purana, like that 18 Puranas are there. Devi Purana, Linga Purana, Skanda Purana. So each Matsya Purana, each Purana will say so and so demigod is supreme. Now what I should understand, why it is said? This is Vyamohaya Jagatasya Characharasya. This is to make an illusion for all moving and non-moving creatures. Whatever they are explaining is simply an illusion. So what is the conclusion? And Jalpantu Kalpavadi. They may imagine perpetually for till the end of the millennium, Kalpavadi. But Vivechana Vyatikaram Samasta Agama Vyaparesh. If one scrutinizingly studies all the Vedic literatures, Niteshu Nishchiyate, he comes to what? One specific conclusion. Siddhante Punareka Eva Bhagavan Vishnu. That the conclusion of all Vedic literature is that Vishnu or Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the only Siddhanta in all Vedas, Puranas and Agamas. So one simple conclusion. Mukhya Gauna Vritti Kimva Anvaya Vyatireke Vedera Pratigna Kevala Kahaya Krishna ke. So one simply accepts Vedic literatures either by interpretation, Gauna Vritti, or by dictionary meaning, Anvaya Vyatireke, or Vedera Pratigna Kevala Kahaya Krishna ke. The entire perspective of all the Vedas is to point to Lord Krishna. And Krishna himself said, Vedasya sarve rahameva vedya. From all the Vedas I am to be known. The same point is communicated in this perspective. So this is the idea what we have to come through. Why there are different Vedic literatures? Different categories of people are there in the society. Different modes they are associated with. So to make him at least surrender to some personality, some higher superior personality, so that he advances in his understanding. And when he comes to the right stage, he will be able to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to Krishna. And it may take Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Because of his endeavor, it may take many lifetimes also. But finally, the position is he has to come to that point. There is no other option of going back home, back to Godhead, unless and until one comes to the conclusion, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I have to surrender to him and I have to engage in his service. So we know there was one great devotee by name Jayadev Goswami. So he was from Mayapur side. Then he moved to Puri. So there, for the glorification of Lord Jagannatha, he had written Gita Govinda. And it became very famous, and he's a simple devotee. So he became very famous as pure devotee and very much glorified for his devotional song of Gita Govinda. Everywhere he is recognized. So on one occasion, he wanted to organize a festival for the glorification of his Radha Madhava deities. But he was short of money. So he decided to travel. He wanted to meet some places, meet kings, and explained to him about the festival, and he wanted to raise the funds because of his poetic skills. So while he was returning back, so he was carrying some money, all these things and all. Some robbers attacked him, dacoits, looted all his money, broken his hands and legs, and threw him in a well for him to die. And they ran away with his wealth. So after some time, when he was lying in that well, he started chanting loudly the holy names of the Lord. For 3 continuous days he was chanting. Even though with extreme pain, he was chanting the holy name of the Lord. So a king who was there in a nearby place, he came for a forest hunting. And when he heard the holy name of the Lord coming from the well, when he came there, he peeked into the well, he saw the disfigured body of Jayadeva Goswami. He was very much shocked, astonished. He immediately arranged for Jayadeva to be brought back. And he took him to his house, to his kingdom, to his palace. And he and his wife had sincerely served Jayadeva Goswami. They nursed him back to proper man. They understood that Jayadeva Goswami is a great devotee and his Gita Govinda is of highest devotional perspective, that ecstasy. So they used to hear from him the beautiful singing, his melodious singing. And they became inspired by the Jayadeva Goswami. They brought his wife also, Padmavati. And under their guidance, they became his disciples and they took initiation from Jayadeva Goswami also. So, and he became a court minister because he was obliged, because they had taken care of him in such a situation. And he was guiding the king in spiritual subject matters. After some time, the same robbers, they came in a Vaishnava dress. They know this king is very charitable to Vaishnavas and devotees. So they came as if they are like devotees and the fake devotees. They dressed themselves as devotees and they came to this king asking for some charity. So Jayadeva could immediately recognize these are the people who had hurt him. But as a matter of etiquette, to respect the dress, whatever they are wearing, he invited them, gave them good hospitality, made them feel comfortable. So these devotees also could recognize that it was Jayadeva who is the minister here. They thought better not to stay here, better go away from here, because anytime he may reveal the truth and we'll all get caught and we'll be punished here because it is a king's place. So they thought, let us leave as early as possible. So Jayadeva could perceive the meaning or what is going on in their mind, and he informed the king, you give them as much wealth as they wanted. So they are very happy, they took so much wealth. And king also gave some escorts, so that wealth means again somebody else might steal from them, so he gave some escorts. So when they came outside the kingdom, when they were in the nearby some forest area, the fake devotees, they explained to that soldiers, please go away, we will be able to manage ourselves. And before going away, we wanted to reveal one truth to you. We were earlier working under Sanatana king, where this Jayadeva was a fake person, and the king punished him by asking us to break his hands and legs and throw in a well. So because Jayadeva was fearing us, that we might reveal this truth about his old position, so that's why he made us give us so much wealth and he is sending us away. Please communicate this message to your king. So as soon as they spoke this about the character of Jayadeva Goswami, that he is a bad person and he has a cheating tendency, all these things and all, the mother earth split there, all the dacoits, that fake devotees were absorbed into the earth and the earth closed. So there, in that perspective, it said that in Bhagavatam, when Bali Maharaj and who is his guru? Shukracharya. There was a discussion between Bali Maharaj and Shukracharya. Bali Maharaj promised, I will give you 3 feet of land. Shukracharya says that whom you have promised is not a Brahmana, he is Vishnu himself. So break your promise, there is no problem. In emergency situations, you can break your promise. So there, in their discussion, it is said, he says, I am coming from a family of Prahlad Maharaj. We are very much sticking to the word. We cannot break our promise at any time, at any cost. So there it says, Mother Earth, she says, Nahi asatyat paro dharma adharmo, hi hovacha bhuriyam, sarvam sodum alam madhye, rute alika param naram. There is no greater irreligiousness than untruth. I can bear any burden like big mountains other than that of a person who constantly lies. She is saying, I can bear big mountains. I cannot bear one person who is a liar. So this is the perspective. Mother Earth, whatever she had said, she proved it here. So when this message was brought back to the king, that how the people were all absorbed by Mother Earth, how they were killed, then all the people were astonished there. These people were also surprised, the people. So when they communicated, the king clarified from Jayadev Goswami, he explained to the king what actually had transpired, the entire story. The whole idea is, see, when we offend Vaishnavas, devotees, we should be very careful that we are digging our own grave. Either today or tomorrow we are going to fall. Just waiting for that moment. So we should be very careful when you are handling devotees. Try to be straightforward, try to be communicative, not to offend them, either by their bodily limitations or their any other things. Because everybody, as it is said, everybody is bestowed according to his realization. Lord gives him the capacity. So we should just accept the mercy of the Lord on each devotee, and we pray to the Lord that we also become better devotees. Get inspiration from them, not like deviation or demotivation. So I'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur Premanand.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణ వాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణవాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133107700.